Good evening, guys. Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Sly Geordie, and welcome finally to Season 2 of F1 23 My Team Career. Or at least for this first portion of the video, the pre-season or the post-season for Season 1. And what a season it was, guys. P7 in the championship. For our first season with the car, it was pretty good. Of course, Drugovic, we're really wanting to improve him, and I'm very excited to see what happens with our teammate going into Season 2. But Max Verstappen is the world champion, just like he will be in real life. I think he only needs one more race win to confirm that. Charles Leclerc, he had a really good chance, but yeah. So close, yet so far away. Now we get to see what happens going into Season 2. Of course, we have some parts already ready to be developed into the car, or, well, I guess it would be next year's car. And, of course, we've got the new regulations that are going to apply. So, obviously, I'm looking through these activities right now. Usually, like, the first thing I look for when it comes to these activities is improving our teammates' pace, his stats, essentially. We want to improve that as much as possible. But we have some new parts coming in, the rotor speed. We'll have a control electronics coming in soon. Hopefully none of those really fail. We have a little aerodynamic department to authorize a brake or maintain momentum, and quite frankly, we're going to authorize the brake. It's not even the end of Season 1 yet. I think everybody has earned a brake, especially with the overachievements that we have been doing lately. I think, like, for sure, they should be getting that break. Like, 100%. Yes, it might cost us a little bit, but we're about to get paid a whole lot more for the end of the season. Like, what do you think I am? Like, a monster? Like, no, I'm going to give my staff a little rest, especially since the second car is already going to be developed at some point very, very soon. But yes, both of our new parts, they've come in great, no problems. So yeah, we're having the best possible start to Season 2. Obviously everybody's going to be a bit slower, down to the regulations, of course, but we've ended off this season ahead of AlphaTauri. Now, I don't know again what's going to happen going into Season 2, but of course the R&D like screen, the chart is going to zoom in a bit, so it'll make it look a bit worse than it will be. Like, even if we're like right near the bottom of the grid, I think what these regulations mostly do is bring the grid even closer together. And if P7 in the championship is anything to go by, we were already kind of close regardless, or at least close enough to be able to fight for points on a regular basis. What's going to happen in Season 2 if the grid's brought even closer together? I'm excited to find out. But yeah, prize money of 15 million for finishing 5th place in the Constructors. So that is lovely. We got 2 wins, 4 pole positions, 186 points, and of course P7 in the championship to wrap everything up. Now this is going to be our race calendar. Bahrain is going to start off the season. Then we got Jeddah. Then we've got Australia. China will return to the Formula 1 calendar. Of course, then we've got Baku. I want to redeem myself for what happened in Season 1. Miami will be the American Grand Prix for this year. Imola is going to be the Italian Grand Prix. Monaco is always going to be there. Skipping Spain, we're going straight to Canada. Then we're going to skip Austria and go straight to Silverstone. Then we're skipping France and Hungary to go to Belgium. Then we're skipping Netherlands and Monza to go to Singapore. Then we're skipping Japan and go to Qatar. Then we skip a whole 3 races straight to Portugal. Then it's Las Vegas, and we wrap off the season with Abu Dhabi. So a few new ones there. I had to make some cuts that I didn't really want to do. I didn't want to remove Zandvoort, for example, but we can always return those at a later date. Felipe Drugovic will be staying as our teammate. Duotone is the new main sponsor, and Renault E-Tech remain as our engine supplier for 1 more season. And this is the car for Season 2. We're going all out with the livery this year, and we're taking no prisoners. This is the car for Season 2. This is the car where I'm hoping we can actually start challenging for the championship. Maybe not win it, but at least start challenging for it. It's kind of like a villain livery, you know? It is such a big improvement over Season 1. Of course, I did have to buy it with Bitcoin, which does suck, but the standard liveries are quite frankly not good enough. Hence why this is a big and huge improvement. Now, I don't know what we're going to do in future, but I mean, if we stick with this livery for the rest of the series or something similar, I'm not going to really mind too much. But of course, we'll swap it here and there. But yeah, this is the STR-02, driven by me, yours truly, and Felipe Drugovich. This is going to be absolutely incredible. I actually cannot wait to start driving this car for the first time. So yeah, here we are with the activity timeline. Now, a lot of things are going to change. For us, especially, it's going to change things in terms of vehicle wear. So engine wear, tyre wear. Maybe not tyre wear so much, sorry, but mostly engine wear is going to be impacted quite a bit, given the fact that it is a shorter calendar. So, of course, the game has to balance itself out. But with the money that we've received from the end of the season, we are immediately improving these facilities. So quality control in the places where I feel like it truly matters is definitely going to be upgraded. So yeah, that's lovely. We're going to I don't know what else we're going to do yet, but I think we might improve something in the simulator. I think that would be worth doing. Yes, we're doing the analysis suite. That's lovely. The build time on the aerodynamics as well, and I think that's all we're doing right now. So in terms of the actual like performance, we've lost a bunch of parts for powertrain. I don't know why, to be quite honest. I'm pretty sure we protected every part that we could have. Maybe the new parts that we got were also unprotected and the game just didn't tell us. I don't know, but we did lose a few parts, unfortunately. We got some supplier upgrades though, so thank you, Renault. And in terms of the powertrain, I think we're actually really good. I think we're actually among the best in the grid, maybe, if I remember rightly from memory. But looking at this R&D chart, at first glance, it doesn't look very good. We've actually lost a bit of ground to AlphaTauri, but you got to remember that this is really zoomed in, so the grid's actually much closer than ever. Actually, really not far from each other at all. With Red Bull just under 800 and us just under 700. It's not that much of a push. Like, if we can get a really good lap in, we could still be slightly quicker than these guys, especially throughout the season with upgrades. We'll have to see what happens in Bahrain, but of course, it comes down to strategy as well. So, we have a bunch of upgrades. Look at that calendar. Wow. There is a lot to do here. Of course, we're getting some new parts in now, and I think they actually came in just fine, so we don't really need to worry too much about it. But there you go. Look at all those department upgrades. That is lovely. That's exactly what we want. And yeah, we're just going to skip ahead even more and go right into this Bahrain Grand Prix. Like, I'm excited. Season 2 underway. There's always a little bit of an unknown factor going into the first race, the first Grand Prix, because we don't know how the car's going to stack up against the opposition. Of course, we have an idea in terms of the R&D chart, but if Season 1 was anything to go by, it doesn't really matter that much. The grid was so close together that we were able to fight outside of the... Like, we were able to fight for the best of the rest outside of the top 6. You know, and when engine wear became a thing towards the end of the season, we actually like scored regular like high place finishes, like a P4 here at Texas, sorry, and then a P1 in Brazil, which was mind blowing, and then I'm pretty sure we got a podium in Las Vegas as well. So like, it's surprising. It's really surprising the type of things we were able to accomplish towards the end of the season, and this car is obviously even closer to the rest of the grid, so it's just going to be insane going into it. But yeah, what we do definitely need to worry about is engine wear. I'm quite unsure as to how that's going to be going into this season. I've never done a 16 race season before. I don't know if I mentioned it in the finale for last episode, for season 1, sorry. But I've never gone into a Season 2 in a career mode in this game, in F1 games. Yeah, I only got into the F1 game, like, December 2022, so it's not even been a year of me playing this game yet. I did one season of F1 2019, and then did one season of F1 2020, and so, yeah, it's a proper unknown factor for me personally, so, yeah, without further ado, let's see where the car stacks up. So here we are at Sakhir, Bahrain, watching the Slide Team Racing 02 go around the track for the first time. This is the car of Felipe Drugovich, the 2022 F2 Drivers' Champion, of course. And yeah, he seems to be getting along pretty well with the car. We don't know how he's going to stack up in terms of the timing, because of course when we're wanting to push this car as far as it will go, we're obviously going to be needing us in the car. But Drugovich, of course, this is an indication of where the car properly is as we now join him on board. And of course, even if he doesn't score points, I want there to be a clear progression, not just from the car but from Drugovich himself. Of course, we've spent a lot of time working on the facilities, and yeah, it should be better. I don't want to see Drugovich in the 18th to 20th region. Like, if he's like in the 15th, 16th, even 17th region, that is good enough for me at the start of the season, of course. And as we go along this season, we're going to be improving the car quite a bit. You know, we have a lot more to work with in terms of getting more acclaim, XP, well, not XP, but R&D, that's what I mean. Like, there is so much more that we can work with here for Season 2 compared to Season 1 with this car. So halfway through the season, this car is going to be incredibly different, and I'm going to be surprised if we really haven't worked our way up the order R&D chart wise. But he looks to be super comfortable with the car. I'm not really seeing any big mistakes from the guy here. He seems to be doing quite well, which is exactly what we need, to be quite honest with you, as he now comes down the hill ready to complete his first ever lap around Bahrain here in this new car, of course. And yeah, he's going to come in 15th with a 133. So 133 is the aim for us to be, obviously, as we now go back into R&D. We're going to purchase a few new parts, and we have a lot more to work with in terms of R&D points. After doing all the practice sessions in Bahrain, of course, we usually skip the practice sessions and we go right into qualifying. At least in these videos, I actually personally don't ever skip practice sessions. I always love, you know, playing the tracks and doing all the R&D objectives, just to get as much as we possibly can. So, yeah, we're looking at a lot of these major ones, and this is a good thing that a lot of our major ones are actually next. So this is what I mean when I say that the Season 2 car is going to be a big improvement. And we're actually not bottom of the field in durability anymore. Can you believe it? We were bottom by miles in Season 1 for durability. It was durability that held us back in terms of the R&D chart. You know, that's why I always said we were always good enough to get into the points, because of how close the grid was. But in terms of the R&D chart, we were always at the bottom, mainly because of durability. But the fact that we're already over AlphaTauri in that perspective is amazing. And I don't know if I have footage of the powertrain charts, but we're like up there. Like, we have one of the more powerful engines on the grid. If I can't find it, I'll see if I can actually find it for you for the second episode. Well, I'll definitely record it for the second episode anyway, as we now go into our first lap around Bahrain in the STR02 in qualifying 1 Q1, and we are behind the Aston Martin of George Russell. He's had enough of Mercedes, quite frankly. He wanted to be the next big star, wanted to be the new #1 driver, and Mercedes still clearly have a bias towards Lewis Hamilton. But if the R&D chart is anything to go by, Russell seemingly has the last laugh, because Aston Martin are quicker than Mercedes this year. So That's definitely a bit strange as we do go over the curb a little bit. We are catching up to Russell, but I think Russell is actually prepping for a lap. Yes, he is. He lets us go past as we look to complete our lap and go round into the third DRS zone of Bahrain here. The car feels really good compared to the STR01 from season 1. This feels so much better, which I should bloody hope so, because of just how bad the car was in that first episode. Like, obviously we did finish last by quite a while, but that was mainly because of a crash with Alexander Albon. Let's hope history does not repeat itself here. But I think even then, like, the fact that we were competing with Albon, it was not where we wanted to be. Like, we were still like nowhere near the points, if I remember rightly. I think we were like 14th, 13th sort of pace. That's where we were in Jeddah anyway. As we go across the line, at least we are quicker than the Williams, so that's definitely an improvement on last season. As we now look to go across the line to finish off Q1, where are we going to end up? We are 4th fastest around Sakir here. Behind Norris, behind I think that was Sainz, maybe. I didn't quite see, but Drugovich is really improved. There's 18th there. He's quicker than 4 other drivers. That was never that. He was never that good last season. I think there was the occasion where he beat the odd 1 or 2 drivers, but he's beaten 4, and he's actually only a couple of tenths off of Q2. You know, if we could get Drugovich into Q2, that is a huge improvement, and the fact that he's already kind of getting close to that is beautiful, to say the least. And I'm really looking forward to Jeddah as we go across the line. Only a few tenths off of Piastri, and we now go across the line again here to kick off our second lap of Q2 here, looking to see where we get. That first lap was good enough for P7, but you might have noticed on that last lap I actually switched off the ERS, and I think, yeah, it just wasn't turned back on, so this lap has been an absolute dud. And I'm looking forward to Jeddah because of how powerful our powertrain is, but we need to focus on this right now, because I've only just turned the ERS on. We've lost a couple of tenths compared to our first lap, and I'm pretty sure our first lap of Q2 was with a scrub set of tyres. So yeah, and you can see I'm beginning to panic a little bit as we do take a lot more curb than needed and actually went outside the track a little bit, and we're still like not gaining too much. But here we are going across. Qualifying is complete. We might get knocked out here. We are pretty high up the order, so maybe, just maybe, we might just make it through to Q3, but quite honestly, Albon's there in P10, which is so surprising. Albon is having a great start to the season here, if qualifying is anything to go by. And as we finally get into the green as we finish up Sector 2, so it's now time to make as much time as possible, and we're pretty good in terms of the power sort of things, and yeah, we are gaining time as we go into the final corner now. We just need to cement our place in Q3, and P9 does not feel safe enough as we now look to activate DRS and we go across the line. Have we made it to Q3? We do. A P4 with that right there. But yeah, what I was saying about Jeddah, when it comes to the powertrain, we are one of the best on the grid, and that might actually result in a Drugovich Q2 run, which would be great. But Lando Norris in the Mercedes is the quickest, followed by Verstappen, Bottas in the McLaren, and us for Sly Team Racing. But Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes has actually been knocked out, so Mercedes' pace is kind of wayward right now. Alexander Albon for Williams is in the top 10. Wow, what a lap for him right there, as we now look to cross the line to kick off our our first lap, sorry, of Q3, which was good enough for P4. So that's a pretty good start there, and that was with a scrub set of tyres. So as we now go on a set of fresh softs, we are P5. So for our second run, we were the 5th fastest car on the grid on the scrub set of tyres. Now, obviously, the AI, I'm pretty sure, uses a scrub set of tyres for at least one of their laps throughout qualifying. So there's that to keep an eye on. Alexander Albon is P6. So, wow. High-flying Albon right now, just like real life. Obviously, in the game in Season 1, Williams are always low, but Albon is seemingly matching his real-life counterpart here in P6. But yeah, we've gained a lot of time already, but do keep in mind this is a fresh set of softs, so we can't exactly pay the closest attention to how much time we are gaining, because again, it was on a scrub set. I don't know if they were a scrub set of tyres that I used once already or twice already, because there are some instances where I've used a set of soft tyres that we'd already used twice, especially if I'm trying to save a set of softs for the race. I don't remember if I did that for this one, but yeah, here we are, and we're almost half a second ahead of our original time as we now look to finish up in Sector 2. The car is feeling really good. This lap is really good so far, as we've already set a purple sector in Sector 1. We've set a green sector in Sector 2, so maybe there was a little bit of a slowdown there as we now go onto the straight downhill a little bit here as we look to develop as much speed as possible going into this final corner. It's beautiful, it's smooth, it's the best I could hope for as we now go down the final straight, looking to activate DRS. We're going to cross the line. What do we get? Fantastic. It's pole position around Bahrain, the first race of the season, of Season 2. We are starting on pole. Wow! That is incredible. I did not think that was going to happen. I knew our running was looking really good. Honestly, better than last season, which you would expect because the grid is even closer this year. But look at this. Lando Norris has had a complete opposite U-turn of qualifying. P10 for him. We're joined at the front row by Leclerc and Bottas. Russell's in 5th. Albon in the Williams is P6. That is insane.
No more testing, no more practice. This is the real deal. And it's make or break here at round 1 of this year's Formula 1 World Championship. We go racing today around 3.36 miles of the magnificent Bahrain International Circuit, with 15 corners and 2 good passing opportunities into turns 1 and 4. Keep an eye out for drivers locking the front left into the tricky braking zone of turn 10. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. It's the owner-driver then in pole position, Charles Leclerc alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Sainz, Russell, Albon, Oscar Piastri, Perez, Verstappen, Norris, Gasly, Hamilton, Ocon, Magnussen, Teo Porcher, Joe, Tsunoda, Drugovich, Sargent, Liam Lawson, De Vries, and Nico Hulkenberg rounds off the grid. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. I'm joined by Anthony Davidson at the start of a new season, and it is a clean slate. Absolutely anything is possible right now.
We're into those tense few minutes before the first race then. Everyone's a little bit nervous about reliability. They haven't been running in the hot, turbulent wake of other cars in practice. And they've not been pushing at 100% for long durations. Let's hope no one has to deal with any nasty surprises.
Right, first race of the season and you're on pole. But that's only half the story. Let's bring home a win today.
Well, a win is what we are going to go for, and the engineers are suggesting a hards to medium strategy here. Hards for 9 laps and 11 laps on the mediums. What? That makes no sense to me. Wouldn't I want the longer stint to be on the hards? I don't know. I did experiment with how the soft tyres would do, but it looks as though this season the soft tyres are just not it around Bahrain, so we're not going to do that. We're likely going to go with the mediums to hards strategy, as I try to mess around with it here, trying to just see what works, but it seems the mediums to hards would be the quickest, and so that's what we're going to go with. Actually, the hards to mediums is apparently quicker, but I feel like we'll make a bit of time, saving packing less fuel, and also I think I want the mediums to start off with, especially as we go into the formation lap. A lot of the grid in the top 5 that we can see is on hards. So definitely strange. Was that the case last season? I don't know. But definitely strange, but good for us in the early goings here, especially in terms of the first few laps, because we're on the better tyre compound here. We'll have more grip, and therefore we could get out in front. There's no DRS for the first couple of laps, of course, so yeah, looking good, especially if we can really get out in front of everyone here. Now, I don't know in terms of straight line speed, we'll have to see, but again, we got a really good powertrain compared to the rest of the grid. There's only a couple or 3 teams faster than us, I think. Again, I'll have to show you guys next episode. But yeah, here we go. Purple parking. Lovely. The best parking we could have hoped for right there as Leclerc lines up behind us. The rest of the grid will line up behind us as we now look to wait for the 5 red lights to finally mark the beginning of Season 2. I'm so excited. Here we go. ERS on. And it's lights out. We are underway as Bottas has had a terrible start. If you look behind us, Russell has a pretty good start here as the 2 Ferraris now go into 2 and 3. George Russell's had a great start. He's already challenging Leclerc, looking to go around the outside of him. He does actually manage to do it. He ends up in P2. George Russell is in P2, and all of that fighting has actually resulted in us being almost 2 seconds ahead. That is incredible. What a dream start for us, and a horrible start for anyone looking to chase us down as we set an easy purple sector here. And obviously, since we're on the mediums, we're going to be so good around most of these corners. This is incredible. What an amazing start going into Season 2. Not only starting on pole, but we start the race and there is already fighting there. Look at how much time the Ferraris have lost fighting each other going into Turn 1. And George Russell in the Aston Martin. Wow, what a spectacular season this is going to be. Like, Mercedes and Red Bull, they are nowhere in sight. Nowhere in sight at all. I'm so excited for this. Aston Martin P2, Slide Team Racing P1. The 2 Ferraris are there at the very least. McLaren obviously have had a big boost as well after that patch, so I expect to see Piastri up there at some point, but quite strange how Bottas keeps joining McLaren in people's career modes. I'm pretty sure he did that in Arafa's career mode as well. But yes, we go across the line for our first lap. Fastest lap, of course. 1.5 seconds ahead of the rest of the grid. Our worries are out of the window right now. We're having a dream start. As we just have no competition going into Turn 1. And it takes another 5 laps until somebody actually catches up to us, and it is the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. He was so close to winning the championship last year, and of course the year before, in real life he had that fight with Verstappen, but in our Season 1 Leclerc was very unlucky not to win the title, of course, and now he's looking to reciprocate that, but now we are actually properly in the mix. Of course, we were just a bit of a hindrance to the title race last time, really getting in front of mainly Verstappen. Like, I'm very impressed that Verstappen still managed to win the title, despite our meddling. But, of course, Leclerc is probably mad at us as well. And we're definitely fighting Leclerc a lot more often now. Not really, we didn't really ever fight him in Season 1, to be quite honest. From memory, anyway. But yeah, Red Bull, nowhere in sight. I think if you looked on the map there, you might have seen them back a little bit behind the McLaren of Oscar Piastri. But that might not even be a Red Bull. That might be a Williams. Who knows? But yeah, it's a good start. You might even see Drugovich there at the back of the pack. But it's still early days. I don't know what strategy Felipe has gone with. But we'll see, as we're still getting chased down by Charles Leclerc here. And of course, DRS definitely helped him get a lot closer, and now as we go down this straight, we are a sitting duck. Of course, the mediums are going to start wearing out at this point. We are doing 35% races still, and yeah, going around the final corner here, this is where Charles Leclerc is going to overtake us as we use a little bit of ERS, but I quickly give up on that. He rockets past us, and so instead of wasting ERS, quite frankly, I'm just going to get behind him and use some of his slipstream to try and take up as much time as possible, because George Russell is right there with us as well. And of course, we can always retake that position from Leclerc. Again, it's still early days, so it might come down to pit strategy as well, as we now look to chase down Leclerc. We're going to have to go around the outside a little bit here, as I misjudged the braking a little bit. George Russell is up my rear as he looks to make an overtake here for Aston Martin. God, this is going to be such a cool season if this race so far is anything to go by, as we still look to chase down Leclerc, using a bit of RVRS to try and not only close in on Leclerc but get away from Russell, you know. And as we now go around the final corner to finish up lap 8, I'm still in Leclerc's slipstream, and we are going to get DRS, but so is George Russell. As we are now on our pit lap, George Russell is passing us, but we do still have space as Leclerc moves to cover off Russell, and we go into turn 1 3 wide, trying to give each other as much space as possible, and around the outside we go to retake P1. The double overtake there. That is wonderful. That's exactly what I want to see, and hopefully Russell and Leclerc do start fighting a little bit so we can gain as many seconds as we can going into our pit lap, which hasn't been the case. Of course, Leclerc's lost a bit of time, but Russell definitely hasn't, and we go into the pits, and Russell and Leclerc are actually following us in, unfortunately. So I was hoping for an earlier pit lap, of course, but I don't think I changed it. I think the original hard pit lap was lap 9, so just like everybody else, I just didn't change the strategy. Usually I go for an undercut or an overcut or whatever, but we haven't done that, and I think we've kind of paid for it. Leclerc is still behind us, but George Russell has actually overtaken us in the pits, so they've had a really quick pit stop as we now go into turn 1, make a bit of a collision with Liam Lawson in the Haas. Very strange. Of all teams to see Liam Lawson in, I would not think it would be Haas. Honestly, very unlucky for him not to get the AlphaTauri in real life. Maybe we'll get him on our team if Djokovic doesn't do well enough. I don't know. We'll have to see. I want to get a really good driver in for our next one, like someone who's definitely capable of maybe podiums. I don't know, but we have made the overtake on Russell, but he is not letting it go. As we really have to squeeze him out a bit there, and of course later on in the lap George Russell actually overtakes us legitimately, but if you saw that, we actually let go of the throttle right before the DRS detection, and so we have pulled a proper Sly one here, just like my namesake, just like Sly Cooper would do. We've actually just managed to pull the wool over his eyes there, and we got the DRS ahead of Russell, of course, and now Bottas has just come out of the pits. He is in P4, we're in P2, a virtual P1. So this has gone quite well, as Pierre Gasly in the Alpine 15 seconds ahead on the softs. He's going long on the softs. Of all tyres to go long on, you chose the softs. I don't know, but our pace is looking pretty strong on these hards as we set a purple first sector here as we skip ahead to the end of lap 12. Of course, Gasly has pitted. We are now P1, but George Russell is looking to close down as we really have to try and get out, try and break the toe here, but he gets enough slipstream. He doesn't give up, and he actually overtakes us going into turn 1. What is going to happen here? We're going to go around the outside, and we actually, I think we're just about managing to keep ahead, and fortunately, and this wasn't on purpose this time, but Russell overtook us before the DRS detection thing, and we got DRS to try and boost a little far ahead. But of course there is Bottas, Sainz isn't too far behind, and neither is Leclerc, and then Piastri is closely following Leclerc, so we could really fall down the order if anything bad was to happen here as we go towards the hairpin here. Still ahead, almost a second ahead of Russell, and there's a red flag! The race has been suspended. There has been a red flag. So this definitely changes things, especially in terms of everybody else being on mediums after we pitted for hards. I didn't mention that earlier, but you might have noticed it yourself. Like, we're going to be in a bit of trouble in this race, especially when DRS comes into play. So we've got a few laps to go. We're going to restart on lap 15, so 5 laps on the softs looks pretty good for me. So we're going to go for it on the softs. What the hell? No! No, there's a glitch! There's a red flag glitch, and we haven't been changed to softs. We've actually remained on the hards, and it's gone from bad to worse, because the McLaren might be on mediums. Piastri's doing pretty well to work his way back up the order. Bottas has had another terrible start, but Sainz is still on the mediums, and Leclerc and Russell are on softs. They are on soft tyres against my hard tyres. This is an absolute disaster. How has this happened? I don't understand how this has happened. I specifically chose softs. What is this glitch? This is terrible. This is not what I wanted to see at all. And if you thought we were under pressure before, we are going to be under tons of pressure now. And I guess my best bet is to do what Carlos Sainz did in the real life Singapore Grand Prix, and just try to keep him in second, try and keep his DRS train going, and hope him and the Ferrari fight. But look at how close he is getting after that DRS. We are going to be in huge trouble. It's 3 wides as the Ferraris are just completely hounding me. As we now go down the main straight, they lost a bit of time there because of how Sainz was doing, and so it was really good there. But 3 wide behind us as Piastri in the McLaren gets up to P2. Verstappen is back here. He's in P5, so he's not too far behind. George Russell is still there as well, and Oscar Piastri has made it to P3, and he's looking to get past Carlos Sainz, but it doesn't suffice as we now go on to lap 16. There's a safety car. Wow, what is happening in this race? I don't know. This is proper strange, but now we have to be in a safety car. I think it was Alexander Albon who actually went out, so very unfortunate for him. He had a great qualifying, so he must have had an engine failure, or there must have been some kind of crash. I don't know, but yeah, it definitely buys us some time in terms of taking the pressure. And again, we still got to hope that the Ferraris do start fighting. Piastri's in P4, so things are looking really good for him in the McLaren, of course. Bottas has bottled it, quite frankly. As Bert Maylander in the Aston Martin safety car comes in, and we need to prepare to resume racing. We are going to spend all this ERS that we have been saving here to try and get away from Sainz and Leclerc. And the good thing about this is that they're not going to get DRS, so we've gotten a little lucky here. We can still get this win despite the red flag glitch not changing our tyres, and Sainz and Leclerc are actually fighting, so it's actually gaining us a good amount of time here as we are on lap 19, looking to try and stay ahead. But of course Sainz is still there. Like, they fought a little bit, but it's not gaining us enough time at all, and so the best thing we can do is hope Leclerc actually drives faster, which he should, quite frankly. He's on the softs, so he hasn't had much racing experience on those softs in this race, so those softs should still be in pretty good condition, should still give him a lot of grip, as we now we're burning this ERS on overtake mode to try and just get as far ahead of the Ferraris as possible. There's just no way I will be able to fight them if we just kept them behind us the whole time. Just no way. So we need to use our straight line advantage, our somehow up the grid powertrain, to just try and stay ahead. And of course it's actually working a little bit. We're gaining a decent amount of speed compared to Sainz and Leclerc, to the point that we're almost a second ahead. We've actually set a purple third sector because of how much ERS we've actually used here, as we now go into turn 1 on the final lap of the Grand Prix, and they are fighting! The Ferraris are fighting, and that does gain us much needed time as we skip ahead to the end of lap 20, round the final corner. It is done! The first race of season 2 results in a win.
Weekend to everyone back in the factory on the pit wall. You've been amazing.
Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today. What set them apart from the rest?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. and that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
Approaching the podium right now. It's been an interesting Grand Prix, that's for sure.
An absolute dream start, and honestly a surprise start to the season. The grid is so close together at this point. We can actually fight for wins. It was never like that last season, other than when, you know, the top 6 clearly had some engine wear. But now we are legitimately looking as though we could actually challenge for the championship. Those were my hopes going into the season, but I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting like we'd get close, maybe P3 in the championship at a push, but looking at this, yeah, we're going to have a big challenge from Ferrari. There's McLaren as well. There's Aston Martin to keep an eye on. Max Verstappen sort of creeping in there. And maybe even Théo Pourchaire might get involved in it. Because, of course, that Aston Martin's looking good. He actually scores the first points of his F1 career. So he's got extremely lucky because he did pants for us. Like, even by our Season 1 standards, Pourchaire was just not good. In his last race at Las Vegas for us, he crashed out. So quite puzzling there. Williams very, very unlucky not to score points. Mercedes actually only scored 3 points as Norris and Hamilton come 9th and 10th respectively. So I think we can effectively say that Mercedes are not going to be mounting a championship challenge at any point. Sergio Perez P11, so Red Bull have took a bit of a knock, and Drugovich is P17, so quicker than Hulkenberg, quicker than Sargent, quicker than De Vries. Sargent and De Vries were kind of expecting to be quicker than, but he's quicker than Hulkenberg, and he really wasn't that far off of Ocon. And Lawson's up there as well. Lawson was actually, you know, not too far away neither. So as long as we improve this car throughout the season, we could really push Drugovich upwards towards the points, you know, getting close there anyway. But we got a lot of money. We're getting a lot more money this season compared to last season. So those dreams are bringing those dreams of not only getting Drugovich up the order, but hopefully one day winning the Constructors. They're becoming more and more a reality. Now, I don't think we can really properly fight for the Constructors this season. We need our second driver to be in the points regularly, the high points regularly for that. But we can actually now chuck in a genuine challenge for the Drivers' Championship in Season 2. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in and watching this episode of F1 23 My Team Career Mode. If you guys liked it, be sure to hit that like button as hard as you possibly can. It's going to be a bit of a wait until the next episode, as I'm now moving my things over to the PlayStation 5, and I do have a few extra videos that have footage on the PS4 that I still need to finish, so it is going to be a while until the second episode of Season 2, likely anyway. If it has been too long, then I think I'll obviously just quickly record the second episode for Season 2, but my aim is for this one to be the last one being done on the PlayStation 4. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to move this career mode over to the next gen version, but, you know, in terms of consoles and having the recordings, like, yeah, I think it'll be best to wait until I move on to the PS5. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit that like button as hard as you possibly can, comment, share, and subscribe if you are new. And I will see you all next time for some more F1 23. Peace!